There is an animal alive right now with a heart the size of a small car. Its tongue alone weighs more than an elephant. It has never once, in its entire life, needed to chew. And it is not even the strangest whale in the ocean. Not close. You think you know whales. Big, gray, distant, a tail breaking the surface, then gone. But the truth is stranger than that postcard image. There are around 90 species of whale, dolphin, and porpoise on this planet. And the ones we call great whales split into two completely different survival strategies. One group filters. One group hunts. Everything else about them follows from that single choice. Let's start with the filterers, the baleen whales. Picture a mouth with no teeth at all. Instead, hundreds of comb-like plates hang from the upper jaw, made of keratin, the same material as your fingernails. Water rushes in. The plates trap the food. The water rushes back out. That's the entire system. Simple, brutally efficient. And it's how the largest animal in the history of Earth gets fed. The blue whale can reach 30 meters long. That's longer than a basketball court. It can weigh close to 200 tons, heavier than 30 elephants standing on top of each other. And yet it survives almost entirely on krill, shrimp-like creatures, barely the size of your fingernail. How does something that massive live off something that small? Marine biologist Ari Friedlaender has spent years answering exactly that question, tagging blue whales off the California coast to track what he calls their lunge-feeding behavior. A blue whale doesn't sip. It accelerates toward a swarm of krill, opens its mouth to nearly 90 degrees, and engulfs a volume of water larger than its own body. In seconds, it can take in 500,000 calories. Then it pushes the water back out through those baleen plates and swallows what's left behind. One lunge, half a day's energy. Repeat, and you understand how a heart the size of a small car keeps beating. Now compare that to the humpback whale. Same basic toolkit, baleen and blubber, but a completely different personality. Humpbacks are the acrobats of the ocean, famous for breaching, for slapping their 20-foot pectoral fins against the surface, for singing songs that can last over 20 minutes and repeat for hours. Researcher Roger Payne was the first to prove these weren't random noises. In the 1960s, he recorded and analyzed humpback vocalizations and showed they followed structured, repeating patterns, real songs, passed, and modified across a population over time. Why would a whale sing for hours with no obvious reward? Payne's work suggested something researchers are still unpacking today. That sound, for humpbacks, might function almost like culture. Then there's the gray whale, the marathon runner of the group. Every year, gray whales migrate close to 20,000 kilometers round trip, from Arctic feeding grounds to warm Mexican lagoons and back. No other mammal on Earth makes a longer annual journey. And unlike blue whales, gray whales don't just filter open water. They roll onto their sides along the seafloor and suck up sediment, straining out worms and small crustaceans, leaving trails of disturbed mud behind them like plow lines. They are, in a very real sense, farming the ocean floor. The right whale earns its name from tragedy, not biology. Whalers called it the right whale to hunt. Slow-moving, full of oil-rich blubber, and prone to floating after death instead of sinking. That single fact, buoyancy, nearly erased the species. North Atlantic right whales are now among the most endangered large whales on the planet, with fewer than 400 individuals left. Their closest cousin, the bowhead whale, tells a different story. Bowheads can live over 200 years, among the longest lifespans of any mammal on Earth. Their age sometimes confirmed by old harpoon fragments still embedded in their blubber from hunts a century ago. Imagine an animal swimming today that was already alive before your great-great-grandparents were born. That's the baleen whales, filterers, giants, migrators. But baleen whales are only half the story. The other half hunts, the toothed whales. Sperm whales are the deep-diving champions of this group, capable of descending over 2,000 meters into total darkness to hunt giant squid using nothing but sound. Their heads contain a massive organ called the spermaceti, once so valuable to whalers that it powered lamps across entire cities before petroleum took over. But the real breakthrough came from researcher Hal Whitehead, who spent decades studying sperm whale social structure and discovered something remarkable. Distinct clans of sperm whales, separated by ocean basins, use different dialects of clicking sounds to communicate. Dialects passed down through generations of females. Not just intelligence, culture, again, this time a mile beneath the surface where sunlight has never touched. And then there's the orca. Technically the largest member of the dolphin family, but functionally the ocean's apex predator, with no natural enemy of its own. Orcas hunt in coordinated pods, and different populations have developed wildly different specialties. Some pods hunt seals. Some hunt fish almost exclusively. Some off the coast of South Africa and Australia have been documented hunting great white sharks, flipping them upside down to trigger a paralytic state before feeding, almost surgically, on their livers. That's not instinct alone. That's a learned, transmitted hunting technique refined across generations. Is that a strategy, or is it something closer to a tradition? Smaller toothed whales carry their own strange specialties. The narwhal, often called the unicorn of the sea, grows a spiraled tusk up to 3 meters long. Actually, an overgrown left canine tooth packed with millions of nerve endings that may let it sense subtle changes in water chemistry. The beluga, pale white and famously vocal, can move its lips and change the shape of its melon-like forehead to produce an enormous range of sounds, so varied that 19th century sailors nicknamed it the sea canary. Pilot whales travel in pods of dozens, sometimes hundreds, bonded so tightly that when one strands on a beach, sick or disoriented, the rest of the pod often follows it onto the sand rather than swim away. Loyalty, or something we don't yet have the right word for. Every one of these species solved the same fundamental problem: how to survive as a warm-blooded mammal in a cold, crushing, food-scarce ocean, and every one of them solved it differently. Filter or hunt, migrate or dive, sing for hours, or click in dialects passed through generations of mothers to daughters. There is no single whale. There are 90-plus separate answers to the same ancient question. And maybe that's the real reframe here. We call them all whales. One word, one mental image, gray back, and a distant spout. But somewhere in the Arctic right now, a bowhead whale older than your great-great-grandfather is swimming past ice it has seen form and melt for 2 centuries. Somewhere off Mexico, a gray whale is finishing a 20,000-kilometer migration it makes every single year of its life. Somewhere a mile down, in total darkness, a sperm whale is speaking in a dialect its mother taught it, and her mother taught her. There is an animal alive right now with a heart the size of a small car, but there are also dozens of others alive right now, each one rewriting what you thought that single word, whale, was ever supposed to mean.